G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. In this mandolin lesson, we're going to take a look at the major blues scale and a whole bunch of licks inside this scale over the G, C and D chords, just like you heard at the beginning of this video. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the first couple of licks over a G and a C chord, and we're also going to take a look at the major blues scale, which sounds like this. So we're going to look at those licks and that scale in this lesson. But if you head on over to pickinglessons.com, you're going to find yourself a copy of the tablature with all the licks in it from the beginning of this video, that preview. You'll also find a worksheet with major blues scale patterns, both up the neck in closed positions and in the open position. And that also includes some arpeggios that tie into this major blues scale pattern. In the next video lesson, we'll take a look at the remainder of the licks. There are 9 in total. And we'll also take a look at the major blues scale variations up the neck and how to tie in the arpeggios and how to then use that when you're improvising yourself. So pickinglessons.com. Let's jump straight in nice and close to these first 2 licks and the major blues scale. Okay, we're going to start out this lesson by taking a look at the G major blues scale. The G major blues scale, 1 octave, sounds like this. Very similar to the major pentatonic scale. There is 1 note different though, so the major blues scale we include the flat 3. And in the major pentatonic scale we don't. So scale tones for a major pentatonic scale are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And in a major blues scale we have 1, 2, flat 3, 3, 5 and 6. So just 1 extra note there, that flat 3, that blue note. Let's take a look at a version of this major blues scale played in the open position. We're going to start on our open G and we're going to move all the way up to a high B there, the 3rd note in the scale. And that's going to lend itself to staying in this open position. So we'll play through the notes nice and slow, and I encourage you to get to know the scale pattern because it'll help when you come to improvising, but it'll also help when we have a look at these licks we're finding in the introduction to this video. So the major blues scale, slowly once through. 2, 3, 4. Keep an eye on your fingers marked here in the tech work chart. There's a few ways you could go about it, and I tend to go the same finger when I'm ascending, and then when I'm descending, a similar idea. So keep an eye on those fingers. There's a couple of ways you could do it. You could even slide those notes if you like, or you could use 3 fingers. Take your pick, but I've marked it out as the same finger. So see how you go with that. So moving on now, practice up that scale. We're going to move on into the first 2 licks that we heard in the introduction. Now these licks, the first of which is over a G and the second is over C, both of the licks are over 2 measures. Both of the licks, one after the next. Have a listen to this. 3, 4. So G, then over a C. Now the C lick, we're definitely moving up the neck into a closed position of the scale. We'll be taking a look at that version of the scale in the next video lessons. So the first lick starts in the open position and it's using the scale notes we practiced just a moment ago. So the first lick stays within the first octave of the major blues scale. So let's take a look at those notes we're playing. We're starting on that 2nd fret and we're going to hammer on to the 3rd finger there on fret 5. 1 and 2 and 3. Down, down, up, down. That's a nice little kick off, not too hard. Then to the flat 3, that blue note. We're going to play down on the open string, then up on the flat 3 there on the 3rd fret. Moving into the 2nd measure. Down, up, 2nd and open. Then we're going to slide third into fourth. You can use that second finger. Next 4 notes, we have an open string, 2nd fret, pull off, back into the major third of the G chord. So from the beginning, the first part of this lick, and then down up to the flat 3. Moving on a couple more notes. Keep an eye on your picking there, so we're following our down up on the 8th notes, down on a quarter note when we need it. When there's a pull off or a slide or a hammer on, we don't need to pick that second note, so the pull off or the slide or the hammer on. One more time through the 2 measures for this first lick over a G chord. 3 and 4 and. Okay, moving on. Lick number 2 is over a C chord. We're starting off down the neck, then we move up the neck with a slide. And then we're in a position of the major blues scale up the neck here in C. We've moved our scale into a C position, and this lick uses those notes from that major blues scale. As I mentioned, we're going to take a look at this version of the scale in the next lessons over at the website at pickinglessons.com. But let's take a look at this lick. So breaking it down, we've got this 5th fret, 2nd fret quarter notes. Then we're going to slide, and that's an 8th note, 3 and. Big slide, fret 5 to fret 9. First finger to fret 5. These are both double stops. And we find these within the major blues scale. Second part of this lick, in the second measure, we're actually going to start on the upstroke. We're not playing that 5 in brackets, that's a tie. We're going to play the upstroke on fret 9, and then a hammer on, 5, 7, then pick the 5. Upstroke on 9, down, up, down. Then we're going to run down these notes, fret 8, 7, and 5. Up, down, up. And that's actually the flat 3, 2, and 1 inside the C major blues scale. So lick number 2, nice and slow. 3, 4, 1. 3 and 4. One more time. 3, 4. Okay, there's the second lick over a C chord. We will look at that position of the scale if you head on over to pickinglessons.com in the next video lessons. So let's run these first 2 licks together. Remember, we're on a G chord, then a C chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Now you can break these licks down into smaller portions as well. So this last part over the C lick, that's cool, or just the first part of the C lick. Same with over the G chords. Just the second measure. So you can break these down. We'll talk about what works and what you're looking for when you're improvising with these licks in the next videos as well. So this is just an example of what we're looking at in this lesson. So they're the first 2 licks, and also that major blues scale in the open position. If you head on over to pickinglessons.com, we're going to cover the next group of licks. So there are 9 licks in total. We're going to take a look at movable versions of the major blues scale, both in G and then for C and D as well. And we'll also touch base with the arpeggios that we find inside the major blues scales, so we know where our chord tones are, which is really important when we're improvising. So you'll find worksheets for all this and some backing and play along tracks too at the website at 3 tempos for this introduction with all these licks in the key of G. So pickinglessons.com, and I'll see you there.